there's always been this coexistence between government and religion, between church and state. And of course, in all the ancient empires, the king also was the mediator between God and man. So he wasn't just the king of the state, he was also the mediator between his people and God. Up until the time of the French Revolution, that was always the case even in Europe with the papacy. Today, of course, we in America like to believe that we have a division between church and state. But it is my proposition and my idea that no such division exists, that the church as we know it today in Western civilization is in fact nothing more than a tool and a counterpart to government. It is like two hands, government and religion, both helping the one mind to do its work. And so that's what I am intending to do, is to enlighten people as to where government ideas, concepts, and belief systems have come from, and theology and religion, and where those ideas have come from, and show the connections behind the scenes of how we, because we're unread in the field, are being manipulated and exploited by government and religion. And I think it's an idea whose time has come. And you asked me before what kind of a reception I get. I get a very powerful, positive response. When I was in New York, on ABC New York, with Bob Grant, I was supposed to do a half-hour interview. I ended up doing a 2-hour interview. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Many people in our country know instinctively that there's something going on in big government, big business, big money, and big religion. And everyone seems to know that, but no one has, as of yet, gone into and brought out all of the facts surrounding religion and government in our country and the monetary and the money connection.
Okay,
that's what I'm trying to do.
Yes. Now, wouldn't you say that that allows? In other words, if people begin to see what you're saying, and I mean, our government, it's the guidelines, it's based upon, the moral guidelines is based upon religion, right?
Absolutely.
Now, if you take away the religion, what will happen to the moral guidelines?
Well, I'm
won't
not trying.
Have any.
You see, I'm making the distinction here. I'm not talking about spirituality. I am a very highly spiritual person. I believe in a divine overshadowing in the universe. I
do believe in
absolutely
divine.
In a divine God or Creator. I totally am convinced that there is a divine essence to us, and so I have no problem with spirituality.
What makes you convinced?
Well, I'm talking about organized religion.
No, but what makes you convinced about that we do have a divine spirituality?
I think that there are far too many things that happen to all human beings that we know that there's more to life than just us. Okay. I think that we've all had too many experiences. Every one of us have had experiences, some even more so than others.
Right.
But to prove that there is some sort of a spiritual dynamics to our life. I myself have had many experiences in a spiritual way to convince me that I am not here on this earth by myself, that there are spirits here. I believe in a God or a creator. I have no problem, as I said, with spirituality. I have a very big problem with government, money, and religion.
Yes,
that's
somewhat contaminates the beauty of the divine essence.
Absolutely.
That is there.
No doubt about it. And we have the best politicians and religious leaders that money can buy. And I'm tired of that. So that's
can I just ask you something kind of thrown off a little bit? Do you believe in reincarnation? And what does the Bible say about that? And
well, I believe that I think that you can make a good case for this, that in the Bible, in the Old Testament and the New, I believe that there was much in the Old and New Testament to support reincarnation, but was dropped out and taken out during the Middle Ages, because we know that happened. We know many scriptures were deleted, and some things were put in that were not in the original. So I think that the scriptures dealing both in the Old and New Testament with reincarnation were taken out purposely, because the church felt that that would be harmful to the people to think that they come back and they come back again. Because if you keep coming back before God and other lifetimes, then why do you need to contribute to the church today? Why do you absolutely? Why do you even need to go to church today or to even hear the priest if you're going to come back the next time and do it over again anyway? So I think the church said no, none of this. We have to take that out and let everyone believe that they only have one time through, and that's it. So you have to be in subjection to religion.
Oh, so that right there shows the government being involved with the.
Well, I mean, even in European history, it's our history of Europe is filled with the papacy and the Pope of Rome being involved with the kings and the princes of Europe, and of course that's referred to as the old order of the world, the old world order. And of course in America we have our religio-political foundations, and we call ourselves a new world order. That's on the dollar bill, the back of the dollar bill. So there's a lot of connections behind the scenes between major religion, big money, and government. And that's what the book is about. The book your church does not want you to read. It's just a general anthology on all of the things that are in religion that the churches don't want you to know about.
Now, as we explore this, what happens to people as they become more enlightened? What else will, I mean, I can't think of people not ever having a church in their life. Church seems to mean so much, give so much more. I mean, how would the church be completely changed? Would we ever have a church again?
Well, I mean, did they have churches in Adam and Eve's day? I mean, when creation first began and the ancient peoples of the ancient world, did they have churches? You see, I'm saying that there's a very big difference between religion, which requires a church and the clergy and money and organization, as opposed to spirituality within your individual self, spiritually between you and your divine creator. I don't believe that there is necessity for a church, synagogue, or whatever. I think that the spirituality is between you and your creator. So I don't see a need for the church.
Yes, I think I kind of pick up what you're saying, is that you want to bring back the essence and the innocence of people.
Yes.
And not have it all of this
accoutrements of entertainment, like entertainment tonight.
Entertainment.
Right.
Right.
And so I see nothing spiritual in the church television and church radio. I see nothing more than the Madison Avenue promotion of religion that always and in every way supports government.
That would be a major metamorphosis for people.
Yes.
If that was to ever happen.
I think that's going to happen. I think that we are being forced by events in the world to wake up and begin to question our foundations and our belief systems. We expect the Arabs to do so. We expect the Hindus to examine their foundations and see that they need to examine what they believe. And it's very good for everyone else in the world to examine what they believe. So why isn't it good for us to do the same?
So now that Freemasonry, is that where symbolism started coming about?
I mean, let me explain why I got into symbolism. As you said in the beginning of the program, my mother had an uncle who worked in the Vatican Secretary of State's office. And every few years he would come back to this country and he would sit and talk for days about all the intrigue going on behind the scenes of religion and politics. And it was very interesting conversation because, and I was just a small child growing up, but I would hear him. And I would hear this kind of conversation where he would deal with symbols and emblems and secret societies and fraternal orders and the wars and revolutions.
Do you have that to show us? Any symbols?
Well, we don't have that with us tonight, but we do have a few slides that we'll get into in a few minutes dealing with the foundations of Western religion. But in relation to the symbols, all of these emblems and symbols mean something to us, you know, and so many people are unaware. I mean, the Bible has Jesus saying, many will look with their eyes but not see. And that is certainly true. People look at symbols all day long and have no idea in the world what they mean. And symbols are very important. And if you don't think so, watch someone wearing a swastika go into a synagogue and watch the reaction that the Jews will have when they see the swastika. Because symbols mean something. They have very powerful
I've
force.
often wondered about the swastika. Isn't it like a cross?
Well, it's the Hindu originally. The swastika from Germany was a Hindu symbol. And of course then it generated down into finally the Nazis picked it up, like many other nations, and other people picked it up too. The American Indians had, and the Buddhists have the swastika.
We're going to go to the slides. I think.
Yes, if you'd like, we can go to the slides. I was just I'm just going to make mention about the foundations of Western religion.
Or maybe we can do that on part the next show. We can.
Well, let's go on with this since we've already introduced the idea of Western religion. Of course, we know that the Western religion is based on a far older Bible, the Bible of the Old Testament. Even further back, if you'll go back into the most ancient history of the world, in the Middle East especially, you will see, as we will show you now, the volcano was one of the many things that were worshipped in the ancient world. The volcano was very important because it represented life and creation, and it had a sexual connotation. Wow. That's why today in most men's rooms and hotels or restaurants there will always be a triangle on the door. Triangle being the pyramid. Pyramid comes from the word pyra, meaning fire, and mid, meaning middle. Right. The fire of sexual generation is in the middle of the human body. That's why the volcano always represented sex, the coming of life and the fire of life that brings new life to the world. So the volcano was a very important symbol to the ancient people. We'll go to the next slide and we will see how, now here is the encyclopedia discussion of, and let's go to, we'll see it says the volcano, like any other impressive or fearful aspect of nature, volcano have become the objects of worship for human beings from the earliest Stone Age. Yet the original Yahweh, which is one of the gods of the Old Testament, the original Yahweh seems to have begun as a volcano god also. Mount Sinai, where Moses encountered him, as was the seat of the Midianite god, and in the Midianites' earliest homeland, he was identified with the local moon god Sin, which is where we get the name for the mountain in the Middle East, Sinai or Sinai. Comes from the old moon god Sin, after whom the mountain was named. The appearance of Yahweh, as I said, Yahweh is one of the ancient gods of the Old Testament, and the reference work says the appearance of Yahweh as a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. So that's the way the Old Testament God Yahweh appeared, and that was found in Exodus 13:21 and 22. Now the word volcano, and this is important now, the word volcano, and let's go back to it, here it is. The word volcano comes from the Latin volcano god Vulcan, or Vulcanus, derived from the old Cretan deity Vulcanus. I want to repeat that, this is the most important, that the word, let's go back to the slide because I want to show that the word volcano comes from the Latin volcano god Vulcan. Okay, let's take the next slide. Now we're talking about the old volcano god. Let's go to the next one. Now here we have the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. We see the Israelites in the desert, and there's their God representation. And we'll go to the next slide now and see that in the middle, here's a reference work on Job 38. Now on the reference work of Job 38, it says thunder is called in Hebrew kolath, or voices, for it is considered the voice of God. So here we have thunder, which is called in Hebrew kolath, or voices, for it is considered the voice of God. Let's go to the next one. Okay, there it is again. We're just saying the thunder is voices, it's considered the voice of God. Next one. Now, here in Job 38, we will go to the top one first. In Job 38:1, in the footnote, it talks about the storm. It says the storm, the clouds are God's tent. And let's see, it's gathered as the thunder, the voice of Yahweh. Now, if you can zoom in on that a little bit, we can see that clearer right there. So we see that God's tent are gathered as the thunder, which is the voice of Yahweh, roars. They descend and God shoots his arrows of his lightning. So we're talking about Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament, with his thunder and his arrows of lightning. And then beneath it we'll see on the bottom, in Hebrew it says, God thunders wonderfully. We can see the bottom line, can we? God thunders wonderfully. Can we see the bottom line? Yes. God thunders wonderfully with his voice. Okay, let's go on. So now we see that thunder and lightning is connected to the old volcano god, the god of the volcano. The next slide. Here we have, and we can zoom in on a little bit on the bottom, we can see that at Mount Sinai, Jehovah performed signs. The mountain trembled and smoked all over. Millions now heard in proof that what Moses had been made known in God's name was actually the Word of God. Now, if we'll back off, you can see that the Israelites are at Mount Sinai, and if you'll back off, you'll see that that is Mount Sinai is pictured here in the biblical text as a volcano. The next slide. Now here we have Jehovah. Let's go in and get that a little bit closer. So we can see that Jehovah led the sons of Israel to the mountain named Sinai, and there he gave them his law. Now look at the mountain, and you will see the mountain at Sinai, where the Israelites encounter Yahweh, Jehovah, is actually the volcano. Now let's go again to the next one. Okay. Now there we have the in the reference work of the Hebrew holidays, we have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and the next slide. The next one we will see is another set of holidays with the Passover. And now on the bottom, we will see that, let's bring it in and a little bit closer on the bottom, and we'll see one of the holidays is the Feast of the Giving of the Law. So here's when Moses was given the law from Mount Sinai. Now let's go to the next slide, and I think we'll have a better picture of that. Okay, we'll back off a little bit. There it is. Now we're seeing that this is the Feast of the Giving of the Law, which coincides with the Feast of the First Fruits. Let's go to the next picture, which will bring that picture up a little closer, I think. And there we see the volcano again at Mount Sinai. So we're seeing that Yahweh, the one of the different gods, one of the many gods of the Old Testament, is pictured here as the volcano god. All right, now we go to part 2, which is the closing part of this section of. Let's go to the next slide. We will see here now the. Let's see. Okay, now you'll see here on the Torah and the you'll see the benediction symbol. Now let's go on. Let's go to the next one. This is the rabbinical benediction symbol. That's the blessing symbol that the rabbis bless the congregation. Next one. Okay, now we see the high priest of Israel blessing, and you'll see the hands raised in the priestly blessing for Yahweh, the volcano god, or Vulcan. Okay, we'll go to the next picture there again in the synagogue in Los Angeles. Let's go to the next picture. I think we got a better one, and you will see. There we go. We have the prophet giving the benediction symbol. One more now. Let's go to the next one. All right, there is the, move in on that if we can a little bit, and you'll see the hands a bit. The Pentateuch scroll crown with hands raised in the priestly blessing. So we see this is a priestly blessing in the Hebrew. All right, and that, we'll go on one more. Let's go to the next one. Here is the rabbi giving the priestly blessing for Yahweh at the synagogue. And one more, which is the last picture, will be explaining why Mr. Spock gives the priestly blessing. The next picture, the priestly blessing, and that's why Mr. Spock is called a Vulcan. That was the whole idea of the Vulcan, comes from Vulcanus, or the old Cretan deity, which was later to be found in the Old Testament under the name of Yahweh. And that ends the slide presentation. So the point I'm making is that when we find the foundations for our religious movements in America and in Europe, and then we find that from those foundations of the religious movements, we have our political movements. And so therefore, what we need to do is understand that our religions and our politics are both one and the same. And if we're under the law and have to be a nation under law, The law is, of course, the law from the old volcano, Cretan volcano god Vulcanus, the Vulcan. So I'm saying, as I said, there are two kinds of facts in theology. There's the kind you look up and the kind you make up. And all I'm saying is that there's been a lot of theology that has been given to us, but people need to do their homework, because so much that we've been given, which is holy, comes to find out when you do your homework is not that holy.
Can I ask you one more thing?
Yes.
Okay, we know all of the symbols and so forth. What about this thing that and I'm going to ask you something that a viewer may ask.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Noah and the curse of Canaan?
Yes. Well, it was actually the curse of Canaan supposedly explains where the black man comes from, because he was cursed by God. That is a horrible misuse of Scripture, and I think it's too much of a subject to get into now. Suffice it to say that it was purposely used by people who knew better when they were using it, that it was not a curse on the black man, that has to do with Canaan and the Canaanites. And the curse of the Canaanites. Canaanites were not black people. Black people were Africans, not Canaanites. Mm-hmm. So, we can dispense with that. It was misused Scripture.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that we could have another topic on?
Yeah, that would be a very interesting one. When you get into Canaan and Babylon, and how today the Babylonian Empire still rules in our world today. Our symbols and our emblems come directly from Canaan and Babylon. So if there's a curse on Canaan, we're enjoying it right now.
Okay, so that's something we can come back and talk about.
I'd like to do that, yes.
On that. Okay, all right, so now you don't feel that this is going to, when you take this away from people?
No, I think it is a privilege to educate and help people to understand where things come from.
What's going on.
Yeah.